Love coming here. This trip has been such a special one. I've been so happy and honored to be able to share this time with so many beautiful souls. I'm so thankful for each of you that are here today as well. And today's a really special window in time. We talk in Kabbalah a lot about windows of time, these portals of energy that are on certain days. And it's really special right now because the combination of both the Jewish holiday and the Christian holiday culminating at the same point. That doesn't happen very often. Pesach is the Jewish holiday that commemorates our freedom from slavery, our ability to leave to have the exile in Egypt, and that really represents so much within us, our freedom from slavery, of things that happen in our lives. Sometimes when we think of slavery, we think of like people being held in a certain way, but addiction is a form of slavery. Sometimes our patterns of thought, our behaviors become a form of slavery. Sometimes even our personality, we get held in bondage of that, or we find certain aspects of roles that we play in life, and we feel like we have to be this way with this person and that way with that person, and we get labeled in different ways, and that becomes a form of slavery. But we can all liberate ourselves. And this window of time right now is so special. It started at sunset last night, and it continues through Easter, as there's a connection with the Christian holiday this year. The Jewish calendar is based on the lunar year, so there are 13 different months instead of 12, and the holiday of Pesach is the 15th day of the month of Nisan, which is the third month of the year. I don't know if you know how the day of Easter is chosen. So Pesach can be any day of the year. Sometimes it's a Wednesday, sometimes it's a Friday. There's a lot of extra excitement, a much stronger, even more powerful window of time when it starts on a Friday or a Saturday, as it did this year. And the Christian holiday of Easter is also based on the moon cycle. So it's always after the spring equinox. The spring equinox is usually around March 20th or 21st, and that is a time of resurrection within ourselves. We're coming out of the winter where everything was about planning and going within and evaluating and reflecting, looking at who we are. That's what winter is about. And then spring is about how we emerge. And now we're ready to plant the seeds that are going to form who we choose to be over this coming year. It's a very powerful time. So the holiday of Easter is when you look at after the spring equinox and you wait for the next full moon, and it's the first Sunday after that. It's a bit magical, the timing of how we find the resurrection that comes with Easter. And I think it's such a beautiful way of seeing how everything correlates together. There are so many more similarities in every spiritual path than there are differences. And I think sometimes mankind is really good at labeling things and feeling like we have differences, and we forget to see how much common ground there really is. So I want to correlate today's service between both Pesach, Palm Sunday, which is today, and our recovery journey. Whatever it is that we are looking at in our lives, freeing ourselves from is our path of recovery. And sometimes that may be substances, sometimes, again, that might be thought patterns that we have, or ways that we are in relationships, or old habits that we have that we find it hard to break free of. Whatever it is you're wanting to break free of and to be clear from, this is the time to do it, because it's such a special week. All of the cosmos is aligned to help you get a huge jumpstart, big growth in all of the changes you want to make this week. So be very conscious about it. Think about what you want to let go. Think about what you want to clear, and then think about who you want to be, what you want to think, how you want to feel, and start creating a map for that within your life. Allow yourself to sit in reflection over the coming week and allow that to start to really come in. I want to take just a moment to let you kind of settle in with your breath. So feeling like everything else just clears away. Feel your breath and feel your heart. Allow yourself to just arrive in this moment, here, present. I'm going to read a little bit, and I just want you to go inward. You may want to have your eyes closed. It's up to you. And just begin to envision, see the story that I weave together. See it within your mind and feel it within your heart. We gather here today during this sacred season, a time when two ancient stories echo through the soul, Palm Sunday and Pesach. One speaks of a humble ride into Jerusalem, the other a midnight walk out of Egypt. At first they may seem different, but through the eyes of the soul, through the lens of Kabbalah, they share the same message. Freedom is possible. Transformation is real. The journey is within. Speak those words within your mind silently. Freedom is possible. Transformation is real. The journey is yours, and the journey is within. Within your mind, visualize a man riding on a donkey. On Palm Sunday, a man rides on a donkey through the gates of the holy city, Jerusalem. He is not powerful by the world's standards, but he is strong because he is humble. His strength comes from humility. In Kabbalah, humility opens the heart. It makes space for the divine to enter. Open your heart now and allow the light of divinity to awaken within you. The light of divinity is already in you. It's part of who you are. It's the light of your soul. Allow the light to open within you and awaken humility within the heart. Feel the divinity. It says, I don't have all the answers. I just have to be willing. Humility. Don't have to know everything. Just be willing. And visualize within your mind on Pesach, the Israelites walking out of slavery. They don't know where it's going. It is midnight. But they trust that there's something better than Egypt. They don't know what it is. They don't need to know. They have certainty in the light, certainty and trusting. There is something better, a better path. In Hebrew, Mitzrayim, Egypt, means narrowness. The tight, stuck places in our lives where we feel trapped. Think for a moment. Go within. Where do you feel trapped in your life? Where are you stuck? Where are the tight places? Each of us has a personal Egypt. Each of us carries old chains of pain, addiction, shame, fear. But just like the Israelites, we are not meant to live there forever. Recovery is our exodus. It's our journey. Visualize within your mind, see yourself moving from bondage to liberation, from survival to aliveness, from darkness to light. And begin to see within you a bright spark, a beautiful flame. It awakens in your heart, it awakens in your belly. A bright spark, a beautiful flame, a holy spark that can never be destroyed, for it is the fabric of your soul. It is the nature of who you are. It may get buried at times or hidden or forgotten, but it is never lost. You are never truly lost. The spark, that is who you are. It is who we are, all of us. The light of divinity within this season. In your mind, see those palm fronds as we lay down the palm fronds of surrender, palm leaves, creating a path to walk upon. Perhaps we eat the matzah of simplicity. It doesn't have to be the hardest road. And we begin to remember we are walking toward freedom. We are learning how to ride the donkey, to master the part within us that once ran wild with fear. We are leaving our Egypt, not perfectly, not all at once, but step by step. So today we pause and breathe into yourself a big breath. And feel the peace that flows as we remember and say these words within your mind. I am not my past. I am not stuck. I am walking towards something holy. I am never alone. The divine walks with me. And so it is, and feel the resonance as you breathe those into yourself. I am not my past. I am not stuck. I am walking towards something holy. I am never alone. The divine walks with me and within me as we are one. Another deep breath. And in the silence, feel the hope of this season, the grace of this moment, and feel the courage within you rise to keep walking. Amen, Salah, and so it is. Coming back into the room as you are ready. Feeling that light rise, that courage. And welcoming yourself here, feeling that spark. It is so easy, so simple, and takes very little time to come back into harmony within ourselves. Sometimes we forget, and we forget to breathe. We walk through life so fast, from one thing to the next to the next. And then we have things that shake us up, like the ice storm that just happened, and it shakes us out of our comfort zone for a bit. And it causes us to have to let go of all those things that we normally do. And it reminds us sometimes that some of those things we were so worried and stressed about, maybe they're not as big as we thought they were when we lose power and water and some of the other necessities that we normally think of. It gives us perspective. And that's something to always reevaluate in ourselves. What is the perspective that you have? Where do you find hope? Where do you look for? Where do you exude humility? Where do you exude within yourself the ability to be proud of who you are as well? It is important as we learn how to rise within ourselves, we find a balance. We find a place to let go of fear and shame and guilt and whatever messages and self-talk that hold us down and hold us back. And instead, we find that spark in us, and we see that spark is in every single person. We are no better than anyone else, and we are no less than anyone else. We are equal with one another. So we can hold our head high, and we can see that light in everybody else as well. And when we have certainty in that, When we have certainty that the essence of whatever word you use, God, Goddess, Allah, whatever word you use for that source energy, when you have certainty that that is what you come from, and that is who you are, and that is the spark that ignites light within everyone, it gives a sense of peace, because then we know we can handle anything that comes. We have a strength that we can lean on, that we have a direct connection to within ourselves. This season, this beautiful window of time here, is a time of redemption, resurrection, and liberation. It's a time to celebrate. There's an essence that's lingering in the air that holds a memory of ancient miracles. There are footsteps that we can hear when we listen in that echo of people fleeing slavery. And even here today in our own personal lives, every time we make a choice to not feel like we have to make a choice out of habit, but instead we make a conscious choice and we listen to the voice of our soul, it holds the echoes of the footsteps of the bravery of those people that walked out of Egypt before us, and the bravery that so many leaders have showed us that we can do this ourselves when we listen into the echo of those footsteps, the stillness of the tomb that was waiting to be opened after Jesus had died on the cross. There's an echo of our soul that calls out sometimes where we feel loneliness, we feel maybe that we are separated or isolated, and we think of the words that Jesus had said, because it's such an interesting path that he took, where he had gone through. He knew that he was going to be persecuted. He knew that his friend was going to be the one that betrayed him, and he didn't run away. He didn't ask, why me? Why does this have to happen to me? And it's not fair. Instead, he knew there was a purpose. He knew there was a reason that was happening, and he walked straight into it without fear, but with trust and certainty in the light, knowing that this was part of his path and his soul's mission. And we have that same thing happen in our own lives, where we have big challenges that come up. And when we can see those challenges in our life, not as something that is being done to us or something that's not fair or we're falling victim to, but instead we see those challenges as a spark that gives us an opportunity to shine the light in us, to polish up the diamonds that are the light of our soul. When we feel the heat and pressure of challenges and we face it instead of running from it, and we say, you know what, I am seeing this as in my life here for a reason, and I know I'm not alone and I can do this, then we build strength. I'm sure there are aspects when you reflect on your life and you can see moments of challenge that happened that at the time you maybe didn't know why that was happening, and later you could look back and go, oh wow, I grew from that. I found my strength in that. I found out I am wiser than I thought I was because I learned from that. That is the power that we take back when we look at life and challenges as a part of our healing and our process of being able to rise into who we are, feeling that true light within us. There was a point when Jesus was on the cross, and he did ask the question, not of the person that betrayed him, not of the other people that he knew he was there to help, but in this one final short moment, he asked, God, why have you forsaken me? He felt alone in that moment. And when he felt alone in that moment, he felt like all there was him, and that everything else was a large black chasm. And what he thought he could trust, what he thought he felt like his father was always there, and he shared that message with everyone. There was we call it in shamanism, the darkness of the soul. There was a path of feeling such aloneness, such sorrow, isolation in this big chasm. And then he realized we need to surrender. And when we surrender, we realize that dark chasm where we felt so lost, that was simply the emptiness within us. God never left him. He was inside him. He was looking for him out there. as finding like, help me, let me see where I can go with this. And instead, he just needed to remember to surrender and feel him already in his heart, already in his soul. And we are never alone. Sometimes we feel like that. We feel like maybe our friends betrayed us and we had to let go of people in our life because they weren't healthy for us anymore. And we start to feel like we're so alone, and where can we find our village, and where can we find that support that we so long for? And what we need to do is look inside. Become best friends with yourself. Learn to trust yourself, and learn to see that God is already there within you, because it's the spark that is the light of your soul already. No matter what's happened in life, no matter what choices you have made, it's there already. It's part of who you are, and you are never truly alone. Sometimes we need to surrender to those moments so we can discover who we are. There are times so many people will go decades in their life never knowing who they really are, never looking at those deep questions and asking, who am I? What do I believe in? Why am I here? And when we start to look in at that and we ask those questions, then we start to see this miracle of light that awakens within us, and we empower ourselves to be able to walk a life that is filled with joy, that is filled with promise, that is filled with challenge as well, but with an empowerment to face those challenges and discover our strength through it. This window of time is where we don't run from these questions. Instead, we hold the questions close like sacred scrolls that we long for and we hold in our heart, that are unveiled as we reflect within, knowing that within each of these sacred scrolls is a spark that lights the way home to our soul and to our connection with all that is. There's a reminder that we have with Pesach that freedom really is possible. Again, it's not a story of leaving a place where we feel enslaved. It's a story of leaving behind those things where we enslave ourselves, where we hold ourselves hostage. I have seen many times in the energy work that I do where people energetically will have like shackles around the feet or bondage around their hands, and it's where they feel like they aren't able to do what they want to do. They aren't able to move where they want to move. They aren't able to make the choices. But we can. We just need to free ourselves from that and to see, to recognize the power that is in us when we awaken to the light that's already there. There is so much unconditional love ever flowing from the Creator energy to us. And when we talk about the story with Pesach in Egypt, Mitzrayim means narrowness, that tight space, like we talked about in the meditation. There's a voice sometimes that happens in our mind that says, you will never change, you can't do this, it's too hard, I'm not sure, you're not as good as this other person. That is the voice of the opponent. That is not the voice of our soul. That is not a voice that speaks any truth. That is a voice that is there to keep us down. Sometimes it seems like, it feels like the harder road, but it actually is an easier path to stay stuck in those tight places. It is harder to find that courage to actually stand up, to move forward, and to make the choices to free ourselves. That voice, that chain of voices sometimes that can happen in us comes from the weight of trauma. It comes from systems that tell us that we are not enough, systems that tell us that we are different or we are separated, but we are not. I am no better or no less than anyone else. When we all realize that, we claim our power and we find our community as well. When we walked out of Egypt, we were taken out, we were walked, and we were guided. We had to do the steps ourselves, but we were guided by the light. And we were finding that, following the voice of the soul instead of the voice of the opponent. With trembling hearts, with open hands, we are still walking towards that freedom. All of us. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength. to set yourself free and to come into this journey. At Pesach, there are a lot of different foods that we use and different drinks that we use to celebrate the holiday. 3 of those. So bitter herbs are one of them, because the bitterness reminds us of the bitterness of the journey. Sometimes that we have to remember the bitterness of what had enslaved us, or what the pain that we go through with the thing that sometimes we fall into with habit. You need to remember the bitterness of it to keep us from wanting to go back there. And also salt water is one of the things that is really important. Salt water reminds us of the tears that were shed from those before us that had also walked this journey before. We are not alone in the pain. And one of the other things is the matzah, which is an unrisen bread. And the matzah is said that we use that because we had to flee so quickly, the bread had no time to rise. And that's what we need to do with whatever it is that we are in recovery for. We have to just run. We have to run towards it. We have to run towards what is hard. We have to run towards the ability and the choice to be free, instead of taking our time or thinking maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, and then it doesn't happen, because this is the only moment, the present moment right now. And the spark within the resurrection of the light, as we reflect on resurrection, we remember again that Jesus never resisted his journey. He went, he prayed, he prepared for it on the mountain. He knew the betrayal was coming. He knew that the pain was part of the path. It's a big thing we do in Kabbalah. The pain is part of the path, and it's okay, and it can become your greatest strength, and it can become the opening to amazing wisdom and such peace and such joy. He didn't cry out in anger. Instead, he offered forgiveness. That's what we need to do to ourselves, too. Sometimes when we have shame or fear or regret, we cry out in anger at ourselves. It's not even about other people. It's what are we saying to ourselves? We need to offer the grace of forgiveness to ourselves so that we can then accept and feel the love from others and to know the love within ourselves as well. Even in that deepest moment of despair, when he said, God, why have you forsaken me? He felt alone, which is what we all feel at times, but he knew that God was still with him and that it wasn't somewhere outside, it was actually within. It's okay to have those moments. Sometimes that critical voice comes up in us when we have doubt or fear or lack or shame, and then we get more critical and it pushes us down in the cycle. Instead, surrender, let it go. Recognize the thoughts that come up, and then let yourself move into freedom and peace and trust. That divine spark is a piece of infinite light planted in every single soul, blazing a beautiful flame. It can't be extinguished because it's within us, and it is us, and it's that animation that is the light, that is our uniqueness, that we come here into this world to experience. So just as Jesus rose, just as the sea parted, we too can rise. Our hearts can open again, and we find that strength, and we resurrect within ourselves. And as far as with the redemption of the world, in Kabbalah we speak of Geulah, which is redemption. Not just a personal salvation, but cosmic harmony. It's a sense of being able to come into healing the soul and healing the world. One of the things we talk a lot about Kabbalistically is our tikkun. Our tikkun is our biggest challenge, because that is what we want to learn in this life. Our souls, when we were on the other side, and we were deciding and planning, and we were so excited to come to this earth plane, we were like, yes, I want to go to that first level of heaven, that blue and green marble that has so many different unique souls and characteristics and personalities, and I want to learn there, and I want to learn, and then you kind of create your list of what you want to learn, and you create your list of who are the souls that you want to have in this journey with you while you're here. And as we do that, then we come into this world, and we kind of forget sometimes why we came here, what we wanted to do, what was our grocery list we wrote of what we wanted to learn, and we then then kind of get a little bitter, like, but I don't want to. That's hard. Why did that happen? Why me? What is this about? And a voice of our soul, though, keeps kind of tapping in and saying, no, you can do this. You chose this challenge because you are strong enough inside yourself to learn this. You are strong enough and wise enough to grow from this and take this opportunity, seize it. And when we do, when we step into that power and into that grace within ourselves, it's not just that we're redeeming ourselves, we're bringing healing to the whole world. Because as we heal ourselves, as we raise the consciousness within ourselves, we are changing that energy in the world. All of us, we have this essence, this energy that we exude. That's why when you walk into a room, you can tell the energy in the room. You can tell if somebody is sad or angry or happy or at peace. You feel it. You feel the air in the room, and you're able to assess that. And so at the same way that we can feel that, we have great power in us to affect that. So when we find our strength, when we choose to rise into being in the light of healing, we choose to embrace those challenges, we choose to learn, we choose to grow, that the correction of the world happens, the healing of the world happens. And every single time we do that, we're adding a spark of healing into the world and into our communities, not just within ourselves. Redemption is not a moment, it's really a process. I think sometimes our human minds want to think, okay, I got it, I did it, now we can just rest. It's done. It doesn't work that way. It would be nice, but it's a process. It's an ever-evolving process. There are so many different layers as we move through this process. And it's a journey of aligning our lives with divinity. It's of seeing each other as sparks of the same holy fire. It's of lifting what has fallen, loving what has been cast out. It is a bringing of light in spaces where there was no light seen before. All of us are part of this work. Each step that you do towards healing, every single breath of compassion, every single word of truth that is spoken with love moves the world closer to this wholeness. It moves the world closer to balance and to compassion. And I want you to think these words as we come closer into our closing. Think these words again within yourself. You are not your past. You are not your pain. You are the light. You are the spark. You are the resurrection in motion here in this life. You are the exodus that is still unfolding. May you walk forward not in fear, but in faith, not in bitterness, but in purpose, not in loneliness, but in union with everything that is sacred. May we each become part of the great redemption within us, between us, and also for the whole world.